So hello everyone. In this part, I'll show you how to wire up the authentication with a backend server, and let's see how it works. So basically I have a login page and I'll have an email and password. When I enter an email and a password, I'll hit my backend server, get the token, and you can see I have putting the token in the profile just for the demonstration. And when I click logout, it takes me back to the logout screen. So when I refresh, you can see that the state is maintained. So when I log in and I hit refresh, it takes me to the login screen, logged in state rather than the logged out state. This is Saurav. Welcome to my channel Screens, where I'll post videos related to design and development. If you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I showed you how to set up the React project and set up the basic navigation. So we had these scenes or screens which were home, login, profile and register, and we created a tab layout using home and profile, and then we also had login and register which were there for logged out users. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what was the functionality. So when I open app.js, so when I open the app, it takes me to the login screen because is logged in is false. When I change this to true, it will take me to the home screen. So that is cool. So let's change this back to logged out state. So in this series, I will show you how to actually log in using a backend API. And when the user is successfully logged in, we'll take him to the login screen. We'll take him to the home screen, and in the home screen we'll have a button called log out, and then we'll log out. And when the user launches the app, it will again take him to the login screen. So basically we'll add the authentication functionality using this backend API. So for the backend API, I have created my own auth server, which is basically built on Express, Node and Mongo. And in that we have a couple of three APIs. So I'll just show you what are those APIs. So in order to show you that those APIs, I'll create a file called api.rest. So if you have not seen my previous videos, so I use a add-on called REST client. Basically, in using this REST client, we can make API calls directly from our VS Code. So I'll just go ahead and copy. Okay, so we have three APIs which are login, sign up and /me. So basically login will take email and password and then give me a token back. So let's see how that works. So when I click on login, it takes the email and password and gives me the token back. So using this token, I can make an API call to the backend to get the profile. So when let me close this out. So when I click on send request here, you can see that it is giving me my profile, which has username, email, ID and created at date. And the third API, which is sign up, will take username, email and password and register the user. Since I have already created that user, it will give me a message called user already exists. So let's go ahead and create some random user @gmail.com. So when I send request, you can see that it has created the user with this email and is giving the token back. So we can use this token to proceed our logged in state. So let's go ahead and see how. So first we'll integrate the API for login. So let's go to the login page and add the functionality of login. So we'll need, in order to create a login page, we'll need a couple of text inputs and a button. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a text input. So in order to create a text input, I'll put it in a components folder, so all these components which we can use all over the app, we'll put it in the components folder. We'll create a folder called components, and inside the folder components we'll create a file called text input. And in text input we'll create our custom component using the text input of React Native. So I'll first import React, and then I'll import the style component. Okay, and then we will create a styled input, or let's call it text input. And then we'll have styled dot text input. Okay, and then I will create this component text input. This will take props and will return the text input, and we'll spread the props. Let's go ahead and return, or let's go ahead and export this. Export default text input. So basically, okay, so we need to change this to styled. Okay, so basically we'll take the input and add some styles over that, and then return the styled input. So we need to style that. Okay, so first I'll go ahead and add this component in login page so we can see what is happening. So I will go ahead and import that. So let's import text input from components / text input, and we'll create a text input here. Okay, so now you can see we have a text input, but it is not styled yet. So I'll go ahead and start styling it. So first we need to add a border of 1 pixel. So we'll add a border of 1 pixel. Sorry. So now you can see that we have a border of 1 pixel. We change the color to match some styling. So the color which I'll add is this. And then I'll also have the border radius, and I'll add border radius as 3 pixels. Let's go ahead and change the font size to 40 pixels. Oh, sorry, let's not change the font size to 40 pixels. We'll change it to 16 pixels. And then add the height to 40 pixels. Okay, so 40 pixel will give us a nice touchable area which we can use on mobile devices. So that is pretty much it. So we now have this style text component, text input, sorry, and then on home, and then on login.js, we'll add some props to it. So we'll add props to it like placeholder, so in the placeholder we can add email. So you can see that we can pass the props, and since we are spreading the props here, so all the props which are passed from the parent, it will get just rendered fine. Okay, and then we'll add another text input now, and this time we'll use password. So now we have 2 text inputs, and then since this is a password field, we need to hide it. So in order to hide it, we need to add a prop which is secure text entry, and use changes to true. Okay, now we can see that we have the masked password. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and style this really fast. So okay, so what I'll do is, let's go ahead and flex one here. Okay, background I'll use as FD FFC, justify content to center. Okay, so this has centered the content for me. So one more thing, I'll go to app.js and remove this title bar from here. We need to add screen options in the navigator. So let's add screen options, and in the screens options we'll have header shown to false. Okay, so this gets rid of the header, which is what we wanted. We'll change this login to title. Okay, we'll change this to title as well. So let's add now. We'll have this font size to be a bigger font, which is 36 pixel. Then we'll add a color, which is #0111627. Okay, so we have this login text here. Now we want to move this login at the top. So in order to do that, what I'll do is I'll create a container here. So let's add a content style, which is content, and we'll use this as a view. It will be basically a styled view, and we'll wrap this content, which is text input and buttons, inside that content. Okay, okay, so we have moved everything which is email, which is the text inputs and the button, inside that content. Okay, and in the content, what we're gonna do is add flex to 1. So let's change this flex to 1. So basically what it will do is push everything up. So it will take the flex 1, and then we'll add a padding. So we'll add a padding from the top, which will be 20 pixels, which will be 20%, and then we'll add a 16 pixel padding from left and right. We'll have a bottom padding of 0 and then 16 pixel left and right padding. So this will pad our content here. And let's go ahead and add the padding to the title as well. So the padding to the title will be 4 pixels top bottom and then 16 pixel left right. Okay, which is cool. So now we have this login thing sticking to the top, and we have our content and which is centered inside this content view. Okay, so let's go ahead and change few things around. So first thing, we need to get rid of this button. Instead of button, I'll use touchable opacity. So let's create touchable opacity. I don't know why it is called touchable opacity. It is very confusing to me, but it is a kind of button. But touchable opacity, you can style things easily. So I'll use touchable opacity here. So I'll use touchable opacity, and then in touchable opacity I'll use the background color as 2E C4 B6. I think this is the code. Okay, and let's first see how this behaves. Okay, so what I'll do is add touchable opacity here. Okay, and we need to add text as well. So in order to add text, I'll go ahead and create a text really quick here. So basically it will be the button text. Let's create a styled version of text. Okay, I'll not put any style. Let's first check that out. Okay, and then we call it login. Okay, I'll change this to button text. Okay, cool. So this is the button here. Okay, let's change this to, okay, so we'll keep that register thing there. Let's first style this login button. Okay, so we'll add a couple of styles to touchable opacity, and then add a couple of styles to button text as well. So let's go ahead and quickly do that. Let's do align items center, justify content center. Okay, basically this centers the text inside that touchable opacity. And also I'll add a margin. I'll add a margin of 16 pixel top and bottom and 0 left and right. I think I can do 0 here. Okay, cool. And I'll add a height of 40 pixels. Okay, and then I'll add a border radius as well. So I'll add a border radius of 3 pixels. Cool. So we have our button here, and now let's style the text as well. So in the text, we need to change the color of the text first. So I'll change the font size first, and then change the color. So we're gonna use this white color, which is the background. Okay, so we have a button here with login. Cool. So, and I'll do one more thing. I'll add labels to these text inputs. So in order to add label, we need to create a style called we need to create a component, style component, which is label, and it will be nothing but a style text. Okay, we'll style it later, but for now let's go ahead and add the label here. So let's call it email, and then duplicate that, and the next one will be password. Okay, so we have email and password labels, so let's style it. So what I'll do is I will use the font size of 16 pixels, and let's add a margin, and we'll add a top and bottom margin. So we'll add a top margin of 8 pixels, 0 right, 4 pixels bottom, and 0 left. Okay, so this will basically space around add space around the label. Okay, cool. We have email and password input fields here. We have a button here, and we have another button called register. So let's get a register button all together. For now, we'll add the registration flow later. Okay, cool. So we have our login page styled. So let's go ahead and add a couple of states here, which are the state of email and the password. So I'll import. So let's go ahead and have a state called email, and we'll use that email here. We'll use the hook, which is useState, and we'll use empty text for the initial state. I'll duplicate this and change this to password, and we'll change set email to set password, and we'll set the password to blank for the start. Okay, cool. So we have now our two states here. So let's go ahead and wire these states to the input. So in order to wire that, we'll have to add a value, and we'll call this email, and we'll also add on change text. So basically on change of text, we'll give a text, and then we'll call it set email and pass the text. Okay, so we'll go ahead and replace this with text. I think okay, cool. So we have our state for email now. Let's go ahead and copy paste this for password as well. Okay, let's change email to password and change set email to password. Sorry, change set email to set password. So when you're passing a single parameter, you don't need a parenthesis around it. So that's why the predictor is complaining. I don't know why it's not picking it up. Let's go ahead and close it and open it again. Maybe that will fix it. Nope. Also something is wrong here. I'll see it later. Instead of adding it to the text input, I added it to the label, which is completely wrong. So I'll add it to the text input. So now it's good. Okay, so on click of this button, I'll add a on press event for this. On press, and let's see if we can pick the state from here. So what I'll do is console log okay, that is cool. So let's go ahead and change this to something, and let's open a debugger. I'll press Command M on Control M on Windows inside the Android emulator. This will give us the menu, and I'll click debug. So let's go ahead and start debugging this. Okay, so now you can see that we have a debugger here. Okay, let's go ahead and add something. Click on login. You can see that we have our email and password logged in. Sorry, console in the console. That is it. I'll open up app.js, and let's go ahead and create the state of the app now. So since the app has a little bit of complex state, we'll use reducer here. So let's go ahead and see how that works. So in order to use reducers, we need to have a initial state. So let's create an initial state. Okay, and so the initial state will have 3 parameter, which is loading. So let's change it to true, and then we'll have is signed is sign out is equal to false, and we'll have user token as null. So basically this will be the initial state. The initial state will be is loading, and it will be true. So basically in this state we're going to fetch the token from the Acing storage, and then when we fetch the token from the Acing storage, we're going to dispatch an event and then change the state of the app. So next one is signed out. So I'll not keep it is signed out. Basically this is logged in. Is logged in. So this is false. Okay, so this will be state. Let's remove this, and basically we need to change this to state that is logged in. So now the logged in will be coming from state instead of the variable. So now I'll define reducers here. So let's go ahead and create a constant called reducer. Cool. So reducer will take of action. So basically reducer takes the previous state and an action. Okay, and it will return the new state. So basically it's just like how Redux works. So if you are familiar with Redux or worked with Redux before, this will sound very familiar to you. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a switch statement. So we'll switch on actions.type. So it will be action.type. Okay, and I'll start adding the types now. So let's have the first type, which is restore token okay, and we spread the previous state and change the user token to action.token and change is loading to false. Okay, so basically this is the case when I get the token from the Acing storage, and after getting it I'll set the loading to false and set the user token which I got from the Acing storage. So let's add another case. Okay, so the next state which we're gonna add is sign in. Let's call it sign_in, and in this we're gonna return, it's gonna spread the previous state. We are going to change we'll change the user token to action.token, and we are going to change is logged in to true. Okay, the third case we are going to add is sign out. Okay, so in this we are going to change the user token to null and is logged out to true. So is logged into false. Okay, cool. So when I sign in, the logged in becomes true. When I sign out, the logged in becomes false and the user token becomes null. Okay, let's go ahead and add that reducer to the app. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the state, and we'll have a dispatch, and I use react.useReducer. So user reducer takes reducer and the initial state. Okay, so basically we'll use the dispatch to dispatch different functions now. Okay, so dispatch different actions, sorry. Okay, so now we need to, when we launch our app, we need to fetch the token from the Acing storage. So in order to do that, we need to install Acing storage and use effect in which we'll fetch the we'll fetch the token from the Acing storage. So let's go ahead and add Acing storage to our package.json. So you can go to this site. Okay, so basically this is the doc for Acing storage. Okay, so let's open the documentation, go to get started. So this tells me to install React Native Community Acing storage, so I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, I'll do npm install. Okay, now since this is a React Native dependency, I guess I'll have to, let's do npm start. Everything is working fine. I think we need to run the React Native app again. So since I think it is a native dependency, I'll do that anyways. Okay, so while it is doing that, let's go ahead and add the effect here. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the effect here. So let's use a hook called use effect. Okay, and use effect has two parameters. The first one is the function which needs to run, and second one is the dependency. So I'll pass on the function which is okay, and then so we'll create a function called bootstrap Acing. So basically this is the Acing function which will fetch the token from the Acing storage. So I'll create a variable called user token, and let's user token will be, I'll await and do Acing storage dot get item. So you can use Acing storage to basically store and get the things. Okay, basically, so get item will get the item what is stored in a key called token. So let's assume that there is a key called token and we are getting the token we are getting that token from the Acing storage. Okay, so okay, and this will be inside the try catch block. So if there is any error while fetching the token, we need to catch it. For now, we'll console log. So basically this will be error fetching token. So if there is an error fetching the token, we'll just assume that there is no token present. So after fetching the token, we need to dispatch an event. So we'll use the dispatch and we'll dispatch an action called with a type restore token. So I'll just copy it from here and I'll use the token which I got from the Acing storage. So basically this key will be action.type and this will be action.token. So you can see that we are switching over action.type. If the action.type is restore token, we get the token from the action.token and put it in user token. So cool, I think we have created these. So we need to call this as well. So what I'll do is bootstrap async. Let's call this function and pass a dependency empty. So there's no dependency on this, so this will only run once. Okay, so when we launch the app, cool. So now we have the use effect as well. Now let's go ahead and create our context. So basically context, we need to have certain things in the context which we can pass over to different components which they can use it. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create a file called Auth Context. So let's create a component called Auth Context. Okay, Auth Context is basically a context which we need to create from React. So I'll import okay, so we have our React and we'll create a constant called Auth Context and create a context from React, create context, and let's export default Auth Context. So we have now our context, and then I'll go head over to app.js and use this context. Let's go ahead and import Auth Context. So basically Auth Context will provide a functionality related to authentication, which are sign in, sign out, and pass the user token as well. So let's go ahead and import so we'll do an import Auth Context from okay, and then we need to wrap it around the components which need to access this Auth Context. Okay, so inside we'll have Auth Context dot provider here. Okay, let's move it down, format it. Oh, cool, I think something like this. Okay, so this is formatted now. So Auth Context will take the value called Auth Context. So let's create a constant here. So I will create a constant called Auth Context. Okay, so basically this will take a value context. Okay, and we need to create an Auth Context. So I'll use react.memo, react.useMemo. For this. So basically it will give me a bunch of function and a dependency. So whenever we change that dependency, this thing will be recalculated, and if the dependency remains the same, there is no recalculation of anything here. So I'll okay, so let's have a function called sign in. Okay, basically this will be an async function which will take email and password. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a bunch of these functions. This will be sign up. So sign up will take username, email, and password. Let's add that username, email, and password. Then we'll have sign out as well. Go ahead and duplicate this. Let's call that sign out. Sign out will not take anything, okay, because just the sign out we need to do. And then we'll have a dependency which is user token as well. So we'll have a user token which will be state dot user token. Okay, and now we need to add the dependency as well. So we'll add a dependency on state dot user token. Okay, so cool. So now you can access sign in, sign out, sign up and user token inside these components. So if I want to access something inside login, so let's see how to do it. So so what we can do is like use context here and then deconstruct login from that. So we'll have const sign in shoot, and then we'll have react dot use context, and in context we'll have pass auth context. Okay, let's go ahead and import that. I'm not sure that it has imported the correct thing. I think okay, so it has imported the correct thing. Great. Okay, so this is basically const. So now we have our sign in function inside login. So instead of console log this, we'll call sign in and we pass the username and password. So sorry, email and password. Okay, so let's see if everything is working. Let's go back to app.js and then we'll move that console log here. Let's call it app sign in, and then let's try to log email password. Okay, let's see if everything is working. I think we added a lot of code and we did not test it. So let's go ahead and reload it. Okay, so no errors. Let's go and check if everything is working. Okay, this dot props on press is not a function. Okay, let's go to login. Okay, so this needs to be a okay, cool. I think this should be, let's reload it, inspect, let's minimize this in the console. So another debugger is already connected, and where is that? Okay, so this is the debugger here. Okay, so let's see, let's clear this out. It says app sign in. Okay, basically we are able to log this, so this function is getting called, but we are not able to get the email and password. Okay, that's cool, just because we didn't add it here. Okay, let's go ahead and check that. Oh, This is so painful. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so cool. I think we are able to call the sign in function and we are able to get the email and password here. So what we are going to do here is like we are going to make an API call using this email and password and set or dispatch sign in and put the user token in the context. Okay, and also we need to save it to the async storage. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that really quick. Okay, so for now what I'll do is I'll use fetch to make an API call. Okay, okay, let's go ahead and do that. So we'll have, let's go ahead and make that API call. We'll use fetch. So I'll use http :// $3000 /login. So this is the endpoint on which my node server is running, which I showed you earlier. Okay, and then we are going to pass the options, and in options we gonna do method is equal to post, and we are going to pass headers. So we'll have header called, so we need to pass headers. I'll copy that header from here. So we need to pass this. Content type. So let's go ahead and add quotes. And then we are going to add body. Body should be JSON.stringify, and we are going to stringify this email is equal to email, and password is equal, and we'll set password as password. Cool. Okay, and then okay, so let's console log this and check that we have the response or not first. Okay, let's go ahead and instead of this I'll log the response. So now you can see that this is a promise. So in order to change this to a JSON, let's do it const. Let's get the data from the response. We'll do await response.json. Okay, so instead of response we'll log the data. Oh sorry, so this needs to be an await. Okay, we need to await that first. Okay, let's see what is happening now. Okay, so now we have error. Okay, so we have an error saying that please enter a valid email, please enter a valid password. So let's go ahead and enter the valid email and password. Cool, let's go and see. Yes, we have got our token back. So this is cool. Let me check once again. Can we hit it using localhost? No. So I'll change it back. Okay, so a wait was missing from here, so that's why the error was coming. So I have added a wait, and we can see that when we click login, we are getting our token from the server. So moving forward, we need to save this token into the Acing storage and then dispatch the sign in action. But before that, we need to check if the response is okay or not. So if something error occurs, we are not going to save it in the local storage. So we'll check if the response is okay. Okay, then we are going to perform certain step. Okay, so let's get off this. Okay, so we are going to pass it as the JSON, and then what I'll do is await Acing storage dot set item. So I was using get item to get the token while we were loading this app. So now we are going to set it when we are logging in. So let's set this as token and then use data dot token to store it. Since you can see that data was coming, if I can show you, it was inside the field called token, so we are going to use data dot token to store that in the Acing storage. And then finally we're going to dispatch an action with type sign in. So this is the action which we are going to call, and then set the token to action, sorry, set the token to token dot data dot token. Probably this is not needed. Okay, cool. So whenever we call the login, so this dispatch will happen and we'll get the login in the context. So cool. And when we have, and also we are setting this logged in to true. So whenever I click on login, on successful login, it will change the is logged in flag and take me to the home screen. So let's go ahead and try that. Bingo. So this works now. You can see the state has changed and it is taking me to the home screen rather than the login screen. So what happens is when after this, when we call a dispatch with the token and the type sign in, this will change the state of logged in to true and set the user token to action.token. Okay, so in the state this will become logged in as true and the user token will have the value of the token, and this will re-render since this has the value of state has changed, or the state has changed. So it's now we'll get the logged in as true, so this part will be loaded rather than the login and register screen. So cool. So in the initial state we need to change is logged in to true rather than false. So basically the initial state, it will assume that the state is logged in. It will try to fetch the token from the store token, and then so let's go ahead and see if it is working. Okay, Cool. So it is on the logged in state. Let's go ahead and quickly add the functionality to log out. So in the logout, we need to, and in the sign out, we need to just remove the token from the Acing storage. So instead of set item, we are going to remove item and then remove the token, and then we are going to dispatch sign out, and it will not have any action payload, so it will only have a type. Okay, so cool. So we have our sign out function coded. Now we need to add it to home. So just like we added to, so let's go ahead and import it first. Import Auth Context text from, we are going to call Auth Context. Okay, and we are going to use context. Let's deconstruct sign out is equal to react dot use context, and we are going to use the auth context. Okay, let's go ahead and add the buttons. So I'll add the style, I'll copy over the style from this thing here, and let's go ahead and add it. We will have touchable opacity with the button text. We'll call it log out. Okay, and we'll add an on press here, and on press we are going to call this function called sign out. Okay, so we have a button logout here. When I click on logout, bingo, everything works. I am getting logged out of the app. Let's check and reload if the state is persistent or not. So I think there is a problem. The state is still not persistent. We need to fix it. Okay, so let's find out what is the problem. So when the user token is null, we are not going to set logged in as true. So I think this thing we need to check if the token is there, then only dispatch with a success, or so we need to fix it here. So we need to get the logged in. Okay, so we are going to add a case here. Let's add a case where we have a login success, restore token success, or restore token failure. Success, and this will be a failure. Okay, so in both the cases loading will be false, but in the success state the login state will be true, and in the failure cases it will be false. Okay, so now we need to check if the token is, so if the token which we got is null. Okay, so if user token we are going to call success else we are going to call failure. Okay, and let's not add the action. Let's not put the token inside that user token. So what we are going to do is, in the case of failure, we'll set logged in as false and user token will not set anything. Let's check if that will solve the problem or not. Okay, so initially it is true, false, then both are false. User token is null. It stays on the login screen, which is cool. Let's go ahead and log in. It takes me to the login screen. Let's refresh. Okay, so this is the problem here. So now the user token is not null and it is still sending me to the failure. So user token is not null. So initially it was null. So we are going to do the user token is present, which is not null. We need to, okay, so is logged in, is loading false. Oh sorry, so this will go into a statement. So we can do like this only. So now you can see that the state is, we have got the user token and we are going directly to the home screen now. So let's go ahead and refresh and check everything once, all the cases. So logged in state, we have the token, we have logged in as true. When I click logged out, the user tokens becomes null, logged in becomes false. It takes me to the login screen. Let's refresh it also. We fetch the token from the so this is basically a warning which is coming from Acing storage. So Acing has been extracted from React Native and core will be removed, which can now be installed using import React Native storage instead of React Native. I think I did that. Okay, so where is the Acing storage? Oh sorry, so instead of React Native we are going to use it from here. So this will get rid of the error. Okay, so I think we have passed all the test cases now. Okay, so I'll just quickly add one more component here. So let's create a component called loading, which will be used while we are loading while we are getting the token from the Acing storage. So what I'll do is I'll copy the profile here and just rename it to loading. Okay, let's go ahead and change this to loading. Loading. Okay, and we'll also change this to loading. Okay. Center. Okay, and on the app we'll have a condition saying that if is loading, just return we'll return the loading component. Loading. Okay, this is the state that is loading. Okay, so if you see when I refresh, I think something went wrong here. So let's go to app.js. I think the import is not proper. Okay, sorry, so this is not Acing storage like this. So it will be like this. Okay, I think this will solve the problem. Okay, let's go ahead and rerun this. Now you are able to see that the red screen was there. Okay, let's go ahead and rerun. So we have the loading screen there. So let's remove this. Okay, and we have the loading screen now. So you can see for the split of second when we are fetching or reading from the Acing storage, we are getting that loading screen. Okay. So I think we have most of our things set up. Logged in and logged out is working. So that's it for now. I think we have tested this video quite a bit. So in the next video, I'll try to style this and probably add a little more functionality to it. So great. So in this video, what we got to see was we created app.js, and then app.js we created a reducer and initial state, and then we used a reducer and we managed the state using that reducer. Okay, and then we used a context and we passed the context, auth context, from the app.js, and we used different functionalities of auth inside login, home, and I think I'll show you quickly how to get the token in the profile also. So what I'll do is like we're gonna import. Let's quickly check that as well. So you will import auth context from okay, and then we're gonna use that auth context concept. We're gonna use deconstruct user token and use context, and we are going to pass auth context here, and I'll just show you, or for the heck of it I'll just log it here, user token. Okay, so when I go to profile, you can see that we have our user token printed on the profile. You should never do that, but for the demonstration purpose I showed you how to get the token on the profile. So you can use this token to make API calls and get the profile. So I'll show you that in the next video. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for the next part. Thank you and good night.